Welcome to the Carl Nelson Show
on Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL Radio and live around the world on WOLDCnews.com.
And thank you for joining us, folks. Grab your passport as world traveler, author, historian Dr. Runoko Rashidi will take us on another trip to a spot on this planet where African people are residing. Runoko also has a children's book in the hopper as well. We're going to talk about that. But before we get to Dr. Rashidi, and our gang activist and journalist Malik Spellman is here. Malik has dedicated his life to ending the war between our young people on the streets of America.
WOL Traffic is brought to you by the Foundation for a Better Life.
Wrote a syndicated column critical of life in the streets. Malik, welcome back to WOL Radio. Is Malik there? All right, well, we get Malik. Just want to tell you some of the folks who are coming up later this week. From Morgan State University, Dr. Ray Winbush is going to join us. He's working on a piece for Dr. Francis Cress Wilson. Also, poli-sci professor Dr. Lance Taylor out of University of San Francisco and UC Berkeley, one of the best in analyzing the political landscape these days. He's going to join us as well. Also, the People's Scholar, Dr. Boyce Watkins, is going to be here. So tell your friends to keep it locked on 1450 WOL. Also, we get Malik. Malik. I'm not hearing Malik. But anyway, while we hook Malik up.
How are you?
All right, great. Malik, what's been going on, man? Because I know you're going to have some friends join us, but are things quieting down on our streets?
Well, Carl, I hate to say it, but absolutely not. And, due to the fact that there's no attention given to the situation, it's just really getting ready for the summertime. So we having the prelude before the storm, the calm before the storm. So for the most part, collectively speaking, from here to Virginia to Washington, D.C. to Alabama, it's still the same old scenario. We still fighting the same old battle, just worse conditions.
Let me ask you this, because this is a political season, and we've got Clinton, we've got Bernie, we've got the Republicans running. Has any of them addressed what's going on in the carnage in our streets and in our urban centers? Any of them discussed that yet?
Yeah, they addressed it, but they just haven't come to our address. You know what I mean? They address it with a broad brush in regards to trying to get their political constituents to buy into some of the rhetoric. But for the most part, none of them have reached out directly to the streets because they don't have that connection. So they utilize our struggle and what they took us through as a political platform in order to get up there and pontificate as if they're concerned they're going to make something change. But overall, the police still killing people. It's still an overproliferation of guns and drugs in the neighborhood. Young people are not getting to school at an alarming rate. And I have not met one young person, or should I say a collective group, that have jobs or employment, meaningful employment. So with that being the state of the hood address from us, or the state of the hood position, not much has changed.
So why don't you think they're running for office and they know you guys are you can vote, of course, if you want to vote? Why haven't they say, hey, let's picture these young black and brown men and women, find out what they want, and let's address their issues? Why hasn't that happened? Because you guys are voters, or looked at as voters.
Yeah, but what happens is, they got the people who are professional organizers and, again, extrapolators, and in some of these guilty places, they go to the people who they think are our leaders who speak for us. And, my philosophy, how can you say you speak for us when you don't even speak to us? So, therefore, when you see a situation like that, they go to some of these various locations around the United States that's black-related and then think that they're talking to the streets. And in the meantime, in between time, we still become the lost commodities in America's stock market, through the prison system, through the hospital, the jails, and in the graveyard. It's never really addressed. It's just overshadowed. But they would never directly come talk to us because they don't have the integrity. They don't have the mettle to do so.
So how do we get them on your radar, though? Because you guys, the young people that you deal with on a daily basis, they have issues that need to be addressed, and they can vote. So how do we get on especially these presidential guys who are talking that smack? How do we get them to recognize that there's a large contingent of people out there, young people, who can vote and need help?
No pun intended, but we probably have to commit a few crimes in order to get their attention. We don't get the attention of those who can really benefit from meeting with us. I've tried on many occasions to talk to presidential individuals about what we do, and our struggle is taken lightly. It's like, they're not even really allowed to discuss certain issues with us or even to be around us. So therefore trying to get them to really get involved with a subculture that's a political base that has constituents and a block of voting people that can participate in an election. they're not going to do that because the powers that be that are in the so-called black neighborhood going to block that. Remember Weed and Seed, Operation Weed and Seed, where, you know, they take out the old, put in the new, and then you had the faith-based initiatives where they were sending brothers to jail through the church, through George Bush and them. So they're not interested directly talking to us. They're interested in talking to us in court and telling us how much time we get, because they don't have no agenda for us. They just saying with a broad brush, young people are incarcerated, young this, that, and the other, but I still got friends in prison for 1982.
So why do you think that society has just written you guys off? I mean, before you were on TV and on A&E, you were on the radio talking about it. You wrote a column talking about it, and all of a sudden, they took you off, and it seems like everybody was concerned about what was going on in the streets. And, you know, Malik, I'm sure you know what's going on in Chicago now. That's not even mentioned. So why isn't somebody or some person or some group attacking this issue?
Because them somebodies and them some groups are the main ones blocking it, and never even give you no acknowledgement for even being on TV or having an A&E show. Your show, with the help of God, is the only way that brothers like us can really get our message out, because they don't acknowledge us under no shape, form, or fashion. You know what I'm saying? I've been dealing with Purple Rain in the Rafe Street neighborhood for 100 years, and nobody never acknowledged it. So now, all of a sudden, now they celebrity struck. You know, they in a personality worship, but the core of their people, where the fundamentals of black existence exist, they don't have no respect for that. They want to go talk to the name brand Negroes that they think can help them out, and can't do nothing for these cats in the streets. Man, this young dudes get 3, 4, 5 strikes. Kids, Generation RX, breaking in drugstores trying to get pills. The issues that pertain to us, they're not going to deal with. It's like, you know, get away from them. That's trouble. You know what I mean? Because even if you look at my show, Peacemaker, LA Gang Wars, they went as far as taking that off the internet. Now, when have you ever? They even got kiddie porno on the internet. Why y'all take down my show? They took everything down. That's the LA Gang Wars Peacemaker.
Now they took it off over the air TV, right? The syndicated A&E, and he's saying they took it out of the internet as well.
Took it straight off the internet. I don't think you're gonna pull up, and they left up all the foolishness of blacks up there killing each other. But my show was completely removed off the internet after being up there 5 or 6 years. Somebody woke up one day and said, "You know what? We will not let them have an example of what unity is like," and they took it down. I've never heard of such a thing.
Wow. 800-450-7876. We're going to talk. I see you got some of your friends showing online. But let me ask you this before we go to them, though. The situation in L.A., in Baltimore, in Chicago, in Memphis, because I hear that's a real hot spot. Are they the same on the streets?
To be honest with you, those places that you mentioned are just as, you can compare them to Afghanistan, Beirut, Syria, places like that, because we have, based on an article that I wrote before, we have chemicals and biological weapons of mass destruction hitting the inner city, with overproliferation of guns, drugs, incarceration, and diseases, homie. So it has not changed one bit. They just trying to stroke over it, lock up as many brothers as they can, give you $900 for legal fees when you get to court, and then nobody cares about you. It's really that bad. And then they played it off now like all of a sudden Black Lives Matter. They do matter, but it's not our Black Lives.
So do you have a beef with the group Black Lives Matter, or do they represent?
I don't have no beef with them, but they work on a different tactical frequency than me. You know what I mean? I don't know what they do or how they do it. I know that I'm out here with the mopping up the blood. I know that the brothers that I talk to in the street, every day we look to die. Every day we look to see somebody get killed or hear about somebody getting killed. So what they doing over there, it contributes to the black cause and the black struggle, because collectively we all got to contribute. But for the most part, what we doing, they ain't never reached over here to Mr. Spellman. I don't know nothing about it, but I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, because I know what lives matters, and that's the lives of all human beings. Start with my own people first.
All right, 800-450-7876. Got some of your friends online. Why don't you introduce some of them, Malik?
I got my brother Farmer on the line, and Big Preach. Farmer is a aficionado, one of the three, knowing about the 3 strikes law. Wrote a book that said a slave ship that didn't sail or don't sail. I got Big Preach, who did an astronomical amount of years in prison. These brothers are experts in cognitive thinking and patterns of behavior that show criminal activity in youth. And these brothers right here from 2 different separate tribes, based on the theory that they couldn't get along, and we pushing hard out in these streets. Now there's no comics or no busters or no sellouts or no antagonists, but people that are aware of what our people want to do. So I just wanted to bring them on so they can better tell you exactly what the situation is, because they're from these communities as well.
All right. We talked to Melvin Farmer then, and we also have some ladies with us. We'll get to them in a moment, but start with Melvin. Melvin, welcome to WOL Radio. Is Melvin there on line 1?
Is Preach on the other line, perhaps?
Preach is on line 5. Is Preach there on line 5? All right. We got some, as you know, probably figured out we got some issues where we're working through them. We got Big Preach, we got Melvin, and I understand Melvin has been trying to reach Hillary Clinton, so we want to hear what he's got to say. We also have Sister Faith with us, and also Carlene. So if any of you guys can reach out to us, just hit us up, 800-450-7876. Again, that's 800-450-7876. And we're speaking with Malik, and of course, Malik has been for decades now. Has been on the streets where the rubber meets the road. You know, when somebody gets shot, before they call the LAPD, always call Malik to pass on the word to the parents. I think I'm hearing that the drummer's working up, so we may be coming up on a break. 800-450. Yeah, we're coming up on a break, so hang on, Malik. When we come back, we'll speak to your friends. 800-450-7876. You two can join the conversation. We'll take calls next on 1450 WOL, where information is power. Hearing from 4 until 7. And again, we're talking about the streets. These are the people on the radio today. Normally, they don't put them on the radio. They don't put them on television. They don't write about them. They're just forgotten. And these are our people. These are our people. These Brother Malik is one of them who I've known for years, and he's been out there. When I say out there, he's been on the streets, trying to save lives. And I remember, because they're all afraid to go tell them. But anyway, Malik's brought a bunch of folks with him, and I think Melvin is with us on line 1. Melvin, can you hear us now? We still can't get Melvin on line 1?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Melvin, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Because I understand that you've been trying to get this issue in front of the Clintons. Can you tell us about that?
Well, as you know, Clinton has been apologizing for mass incarceration, and not only to a nation, but in particularly to blacks. So something had to happen to where he feel remorseful for apologize to blacks. But the problem is we don't know what actually his role was and what he's apologizing for. Black Lives Matter asked the question about his role in mass incarceration, and he defended the federal bill that he signed in 1993. But in reality, he's not apologizing for that. He's apologizing for a state law that he introduced that helped create and help perpetuate this new industry called prison. And the only law he can be apologizing for is the 3 strikes law. Over 42.
Interrupt for a second. As I understand the 3 strikes law, that is something personal for you as well. Can you explain that to the audience?
Yes, I'm one of the first to get it when it came out in March 1994. I hadn't been arrested for the first time. March 14th, 7 days after the law was brought in as the emergency measure, not voted on, brought in as the emergency measure, and I received a 35-year to life sentence, which was mandatory for $2 worth of drugs. And ultimately, I became the first to ever get out on a reversal on the 3 strikes law, and I've been an advocate trying to get the people out that are incarcerated up under this draconian law, which he is apologizing for. Also, I wrote a book after I got out called The New Slave Ship, predicting that this would happen, that this law, my exact words were that it would create too big of a net to lock blacks up in America. It's exactly what it did. So I wrote the book to enlighten and bring awareness to it, called The New Slave Ship, a ship that does not sail. But now I've taken it a step further, and I co-authored an initiative, the California 3 Strikes Reform Act of 2016, to correct the basic problem that Clinton is apologizing for. Saturday in Los Angeles, we will be holding a press conference to address the nation and ask Clinton to endorse this bill and to free these men's home. And that was the extent. So I've been in this fighting this 3 strikes battle and mass incarceration since this inception in 1994. And I believe if we get a platform, the nation will understand exactly what he's apologizing for, and that this law must be amended to where it is fairly, because the net he created was he endorsed a law that was implemented retroactive and for nonviolent offenses, to where everybody who had a prior record prior to the law, if they got arrested for one time, they got life sentence. We never had a fair chance to get 3 strikes or to get it. Our first arrest dictated that we get a life sentence, and we have men that are still in there for nonviolent, non-serious offenses going on their 20th, 21st, 22nd year, and have no chance of getting out unless this initiative is approved. Other than that, the courts will not let them out, even though they're in there for a nonviolent offense.
All right, let me interrupt you and ask you this, Melvin, because we understand why the Clintons and and I hate to use the term, the black bourgeoisie and the white folks don't really care about your people. You're our people, because you may have done something wrong, you've been incarcerated. But does it bother you that our people that look like you, don't reach out to you guys and try to figure out what's going on?
No, they do not. Actually, Malik made a very good comment. Like, I was involved in the 100 Days, 100 Nights incident that was going on last summer. And we had a group of men, hardcore men, but fair-minded guys with a soft heart that wanted to do something and get together to do it. But they expect you to do something free, and while they get paid and get the recognition for it. So a lot of times, these politicians that have been voted in by their constituents and their community, once they get in office, they just stick to the politics and don't hire or spread the money around to help eradicate this problem that exists in most inner cities across the nation, whether it be Gangster Disciples, Vice Lords, United Blood Nation, Crips Bloods, Vanguards, Blue Notes, whatever. It's all permeated on black crime and on the inner city, and they're not getting the guys or giving them a chance to do what they do, although we still do what we do, to help bring back some type of continuity in our community.
Let me ask you this before I talk to Sister Faith on line 3. Let me, the governor of Virginia recently, he allowed all felons, once they've done their time and completed their probation, that be rehabilitated back into society, giving them all the stuff that was taken away from them. Now they can vote, they can do everything, basically before they went into the joint. Would you like to see that enacted on a national level? Because that's only right now in the state of Virginia.
Yes, it should be enacted on a national level, simply because of the fact that it disenfranchises a whole group and race of people, or a category of people that they feel is worthless and useless, but they're still citizens of America and should have the right to vote. They count them on the census when they're in prison and get ex-county money. When they go and make the license plates, they get funding from them and to help them out. So I think that's a great idea, to where everybody should be able to cast their vote, because we're a minority anyway. And then to get half of the minority taken away, because half the blacks are incarcerated, particularly here in Los Angeles, that would be a great thing for having nationally, to where everybody could be able to vote.
All right, 800-450-7876. I mentioned Sister Faith is also with us. She's on line 3. Sister Faith, welcome to WOL Radio.
Thank you for having me.
Let me ask you this, because I talk to Malik all the time, because he's just one of these brothers who just works tirelessly trying to help our young people. But a lot of times our conversations rally around young men. I just wanted, from your vantage point, are more and more young women getting involved in the gang behavior?
I believe so. And then a lot of it is not even just all gang related. We have a lot of innocent black young men, out here that's being incarcerated and murdered. So it's not just the gang members.
How young would you say that the young ladies are getting involved in because we hear about from grade school some of the young brothers are getting caught up in the gang lifestyle. How about for the young ladies?
We believe, I've heard that discussed with someone there as young as 11 and 12 years old, if they're around a lot of young girls fighting or looking for something, or, someone's just there and pull them in. So they're going in at 11 and 12 years old. It sounds unbelievable because that's just middle school.
Right. Is it a matter of area that, where you live that it's a gang problem, or is it out in the suburbs as well, or is it just because it's in the inner cities?
I think it's everywhere, but basically we're really concerned about the inner city because a lot of people move out to kind of
right. Well, hang on a second, Sister Faith, because we got to take a break. I hear my drummers warming up. When we come back, I'll let you finish the conversation, and then we'll pick up with Carlene, Big Preach, and Cubone as well. 800-450-7876, folks. These are the forgotten people in our community. Let's reach out to them. We'll take your calls next on 1450. And I'm just saying to those folks around with Malik and some of his friends. These are the hardcore inner city young people that we see. A lot of society seems to forget about them. That's even in the black communities. They're the other folks. They live on the other side of the tracks. They live on the inner city. Nobody wants to deal with them. But we do, because these are our folks. A lot of people like to talk to name individuals without a name, but these are part of our community. these are some of you think that you're much, much better. Many of us maybe just a paycheck away from joining them on these streets. 800-450-7876. You wonder why they're there? Give them a call. Let's go back to Sister Faith. Sister Faith, and the question I asked you before we left for the break was, is this the problems in the inner city, the gang violence and the fights and the killings and all that, is that just indicative to just because of a certain area that you live in, or are you seeing this show up more in suburbia? And if it was more in suburbia, you think more people will be interested?
Hello?
Yes, you're on the, yeah, we're waiting for you. Go ahead.
Okay, what were you saying? Now say it again. I'm sorry.
I said, is it because you guys live in the inner city that you all these problems that come with living in the inner city? Are there similar problems out in the suburbs as well?
Yeah, but I think we have more inner city. We hear of it everywhere, but I think the inner city is right where it's really the young men are being targeted.
Why so? Why not? If a young man lives in any inner city, whether it be Chicago, D.C., Baltimore, Memphis, L.A., why is he more prone to get in trouble or have issues that you guys deal with on a daily basis that the rest of the country doesn't?
Well, what we understand is you can be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Sometimes you can be on the main street getting a haircut, just like the young man that was on 55th in Vermont a few weeks ago. He was shot. He wasn't a gang member, but him and his friends just stopped to get a haircut. So you can be in the wrong area or get into it with somebody, seem like somebody's walking around with something on their chip on their shoulder, or you could just it's just so much it's very dangerous for our young men in LA. Just period. You could be at the wrong place. Even in school, the kids are bullying and making them get in gangs, and then so it's a lot of question. I mean, that question is a big question because it's so many reasons why we can say that we have the violence. And we have just crazy people. We have just people that young men. We talked to a police officer at Ceasefire one Wednesday, and he said a lot of times when these young men are arrested, they are so high when they're committing crimes that they don't half the time know exactly what they have even done.
Is drugs the main issue then for the crime in the inner cities?
In the inner city is so plentiful because now they're not using cocaine. Cocaine has went back to an expensive high, very expensive. So now they're using meth, and they're selling it to our young men and women the way they used to sell cocaine. They're not selling cocaine. Cocaine now is very expensive. So a small time, everyday get high, people not doing that in the neighborhood. This is what we're being told. And the young people are getting so high off of it and the weed and the alcohol that they don't even realize at the end of the crime that they're committed. They tell them what they did, and it's unbelievable. Like, I didn't do that. They don't even remember doing it. But not only is it murder that's in our neighborhood, but incarceration, just because of the crime so high, if one person gets caught stealing, he gets 3 strikes, and he hasn't did anything, but they got the murderers out here that they know. There's young men that they know that has committed murders, but there's no one to step forward and say that person did it. So now that person is out here, and they have records of that. But you know, it's sad because I have a brother that's incarcerated 25 to life for stealing a camera, cost $138, and he's been down 17 years. And it's sad in his situation because every time he goes to court, they're not talking about the camera for $138. He's been down 17 years. The DA keeps saying at 19, and this young man is 57, at 19 he committed a kidnap and robbery, and he did 8 years on it. They keep bringing it back up, so they will not allow my brother to get out of jail. So in our community, we're faced with so much, and it all involves our family.
All right, hold that thought right there, Sister Faith. 800-450-7876. Go to line 5. Big Preach has joined us. Big Preach has been on before. Big Preach, welcome back to WOL Radio.
Yeah, how you doing today?
Doing good. You know, since we last spoke, have things improved on the streets?
No, it hasn't improved. Not only has it not improved, the issue is the fact that city officials fail to fill in the gap, do what's necessary to support people who's doing this type of work. In particular, myself, I'm always on the street. When I first initially started doing the work, I had people outside the community who would support me. They would send me maybe $700-800 a month, which was enough to allow me to just go to the street to do the work, participate at every time an event take place in the community. I would show up. It got to the point where when they see me show up, they knew I was there to stop any type of violence, to stop anything that was going on. People who were running the events was just happy just to see me show up because I have enough respect on the streets where people, when they see me show up, nothing will happen. But when
let me interrupt you then, because you said nothing would happen. Let me interrupt you for a second here, Big Priest, because people who don't live in the inner cities around America, you know, and they hear, before it was just headlines, Chicago, and they tell me that Memphis is worse than Chicago, but Chicago gets the headline because it's a bigger city. D.C., Baltimore, and we're on the anniversary now of the Freddie Gray riots. L.A., we're coming up on the anniversary of the L.A. riots as well. But what is it the young people are fighting for? That's the question. People are like, you know, well, what are they, what's the beef? What is it?
Well, look, well, let me just say this. I personally was in the game myself. When we talk about what is the motivation behind people getting involved in gangs or even participating in fights, there's a variety of it. You know, there's a variety of them. People are struggling. Family members are struggling. Some children are going through mental, psychological abuse, physical abuse. They have PTSD from seeing people dying. There's so much that's going on that prompt them to get involved with things. There's behavioral issues. You know, it's not about a one particular issue. I mean, we know it's about poverty. We know it's about the lack of jobs. All those things combined is like a powder keg. And so with all those things combined, it affects the way they respond to things. I know it did me. And it took a long time before I even got to the place where I was even able to recognize why I was doing what I was doing. And at this age, a lot of them brains haven't even fully developed to even know why they're going through the things that they're going through or why they find themselves being impulsive and respond to the things. I didn't even know why I was angry. It took me a long time to figure out why I was so angry.
Well, Big Priest, why were you angry? Who were you angry at?
Well, for me, it was about the lack of my father being in my life. It was for me. It was the way my stepfather treated me because him and my father was best friends, and so he ended up having a relationship with my mother. And so he was very and he would not talk to. There was things I was just angry about, and so that anger, I didn't know how to deal with the anger. A lot of people come up and they think that when you hurt, you show anger because by showing hurt shows weakness. So they get the anger and the hurt mixed up, and so they take anger and respond to hurt by being angry. They don't want to show that they're angry because it means show that they hurt, because it means that they're weak. So they use the basis of being hurt to get angry.
So tell us now, what turned it around for you? How did you figure out that this is not working? There's a better way to exist on these streets. What was it?
Well, it took a lot because I was in prison. I had gotten sentenced to 35 years to life for murder, attempted murder. It was directly related to the death of my little brother. During the time of my incarceration, I blamed my little brother's death on me because I was associated with people and they killed him. Because of my association, they killed my little brother. And I kept going through these issues and trying to figure out, how do I prepare myself for society so I can go back to my community and become an asset to my community? Because as I got older, and just like I was saying earlier, when people are young, their minds are not they're not thinking about how you contribute to your community. It's so interesting. The Bible says, when I was a child, I spoke like a child, I act like a child, and when I became a man, I put away childish things. As a child, you're looking for people to give you, to support you, to take care of you. But when you become a man, you look to give back. Right.
Hang on a sec, Big Preach. We got to take a quick break here and look at the traffic and weather in the DMV. But stay with us. Also, we'll speak with Carlene and Cubone. Folks, you want to speak to our guest? Reach out to us. 800-450-7876. Again, it's 800-450-7876. We're talking to the forgotten people, the people on our streets. Your calls are coming up next. It's the Big Show. Rolls on from 1450 WOL, where information is power. And thanks for rolling with us, folks. Just want to remind you, coming up later this week, Dr. Ray Wimbush from Morgan State University is going to be with us. Also, poli-sci professor from UC San Francisco and UC Berkeley, Dr. Lance Taylor. We're going to look at politics. We're going to look at the races that are taking place Tuesday. Is it all over in the presidential race? And also the People's Scholar, Dr. Boyce Watkins, is going to be here. So tell your friends to keep it locked on 1450 WOL. Also later today, though, Dr. Renoka Rashidi will be our guest. So right now, we're speaking with Brother Malik and some of his friends. These are what I call the forgotten people. These are our young people that you see hanging out on the street corners, male and female, on the streets of America. And many of them, doing things, inappropriate things, but many times they don't even know why they're doing them. And that's the question I was asking Big Preach before we left. How did he figure out what was not it wasn't working while hanging out on the streets? Big Preach, I'm gonna let you finish up what you were saying. Is Big Preach on line 5? All right, let's bring in Malik again on line 2, because Malik put all this together. Let me just a background on Malik. I met Malik when he was doing a radio show. He was doing he had a syndicated television network. They figured out the gang problem was needed, which should be highlighted nationwide. So they gave him a show on A&E, and he had a radio show. He also had a syndicated column. And then all of a sudden, somebody decided that, well, the only people who are killing each other are young black men, and so we don't need to give Malik this platform anymore. Malik, are you there?
Yes, sir.
So Malik, what can we do to highlight this? Because we've seen. Do you think America cares what's going on in Chicago, in Memphis, in D.C., Baltimore, L.A.?
Man, let me tell you, man, these kids all over need that so desperately. Not only did God give us this show before our time, but we need it now because kids are just looking for a formula, a solution, some sort of approach. And that show came with a semi-approach because it was a collective effort of people that came up with a way to put 3 people in the same room from various neighborhoods. But all that's fine and dandy. But the only problem is once you get the young people to sit down and listen to you and stop the killing, you have nothing to put in their hand. No job, and then the police come through and do what they do. So after, it's just it's an effortless movement that has good results, and because we at least save 1 or 2 people. But for the most part, they don't come in and reinforce, like Farmer and the other gentleman said. They don't come in and reinforce it. They go and take the accolades for what you've done, and that's it. I even heard Bill Cosby say when I was a kid that the people from downtown come uptown to the people uptown and do it, and then run back downtown and say they invented it. So, that's just the reality of our existence, but we keep chipping away at it in hopes of somebody, being able to save at least one community or one child. Because if you don't have to talk to us, you need to talk to the mortician. You need to talk to the local funeral director in your community to let you know that we're losing black people at an alarming rate, and all young people. So this is Generation RX, and no one seems to care.
Right, and the problem is that these are our children now. They are our young people, and we're the only ones who are going to solve this problem. The other folks really don't care. Is it jobs the answer though, Malik? Is that what's all the beefs in the street? Is it jobs or drugs or a combination of both?
I mean, it's nothing beats a gun like a job. You know what I mean? But it's a combination of social upbringing, etiquette, and like the brother said, a lot of these families been locked up or done bad through the genocide of cocaine and whatnot. So a lot of these kids are left unguided and they have a lot of anger and PTSD and ADD issues. But these people know what the problems are. We don't have to speculate as to what the problems are. All we need to do is get those that are empowered to do like Prince did and myself. We opened up a digital school for coding in Compton, to teach kids different things and to give them alternatives. And that's what we need. We need those people with the checkbooks to really make a contribution, whether it be silently, like the beloved ancestor Prince, or whether it be aggressive like yourself and Carl Nelson show. We need to get the information out and give parents a direction, a sense of direction on how they can best approach their children. I mean, even my son now is getting shot at. Even my son now is getting chased by gangs. And I got 3 children in the military, okay? I got a daughter in the Navy. I got another son in the Navy. These are all 20-year-olds. And my other son is 19, about to go to the Navy and enter with high test scores. You know why? Because they don't teach college in our community. They don't make it affordable and accessible. And the parents are oftentimes cash-stricken, so you have to donate your children to the military. So here it is. I'm an American citizen saving children on the street, and then I'm donating my flesh and blood for you to go and indoctrinate with your philosophy in the military. But I can't get a TV show. But I got 3 children sacrificing their life in the military right now.
All right, hang on a second, Malik. 800-450-7876. Bringing Q-Bone. Q-Bone on line 6. Q-Bone, is there Q-Bone? We lost Q-Bone?
Please get him back on. He met personally with the Clintons before. So,
Hey, Q-Bone. Welcome to WOL Radio.
All right, how you doing, Carl? Been a long time.
Yes, sir. Malik says you met with the Clintons. Was it Hillary or Bill or both?
It was both, Carl. I remember when I first met you when you was on in L.A. when Malik was doing the show and you were doing the Jackie Steffens. In 92, we got invited by the president, me and Leon Gillette, which is a former blood member from the Pueblo Del Rio projects, and I'm a crib member out of L.A. During his campaign, he had met with us during the beginning of the gang troops with me and Malik and Tony Bogart, different brothers. We was just making this peace treaty and stuff and aspects of programs and stuff. And he said that he would bless us and send us to the White House with him during his inauguration if he got to be president. Well, that was like May or June when we met with him. Come January, he had kept his word up and sent for us. And we spent the whole week right there out in D.C. With him and our families and stuff like that. Met a lot of people out there in D.C., really on the streets, and got to know D.C. for what it was, the first time from the street point and the political point.
So what did the Clintons follow up with anything, or was it just a meet and greet and a photo op or what?
No, it wasn't a photo. To me, it wasn't a photo op for number one. The man kept his word because in the beginning, when me and Leon first met him in Watts at Maxine Waters Unemployment Training School Center, the Rage Center during this campaign, there was no reason for him to take us out and photo op with him that day when we first met him. That was because we didn't ask him to. We didn't have no intention on going up in there, and the only reason we met him was because we happened to see dignitaries going to a certain spot, so we felt like, shoot, we're important, let's go where they at. And we went in there. Then Maxine introduced us to him, that he invited us out there with him to present. Now, back then, politics wasn't nothing to me in my politics in the streets because, I wasn't registered to vote. I didn't know what a council member was, let alone, I know the president and all that different stuff, but that wasn't my bag or my thing. I think it's the straight streets. That's all I knew and lived and was raised about. So me turning the piece and listening to what he had to say over the thing or being the president running for campaign and different types of strategies and stuff like that, I mean, I took a word and I felt honored. And then when after 6 months passed by, after speaking to millions of people across the country and world and saying this and that, and to call me up that Saturday morning and invite me and my family to D.C. for the inauguration. I mean, I was honored, and I was a man of his word, because I've been told a lot of trips I could have made and never took yet.
So with Hillary running now, have you had a chance to present the problems? Because and again, the problems in the streets, have they changed since Bill was president? And have you had a chance to even approach Hillary Clinton about this?
I mean, me personally, I figure the problem in the streets is in the streets. The problem that Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, any other presidential or politician can't compare. They can't come to the streets and change it. We have to change it. They could send some money down here. They could send some opportunities down here. They can cut some laws out. But I ain't seen too much in the Constitution been taken out since day one. You know, all I can say is that we out here have to do that. And then we have to rely on our politicians to make them accountable, as well as we have to be accountable for what comes down here that's not been given to us. Not only from up there, but from down here also. You know, let's take it all the way to the roots of all this. That's how I look at it, because I stay on the roots of it. So anything higher than that, I mean, I got to give accountability for it, too. You know what I'm saying? So my accountability with Hillary and them, I mean, hey, they did what she did. She can be like anybody else hasn't done. I mean, more than anybody else have done, I believe. You know, I mean, in a lot of ways, comparisons, you know what I mean? So I believe she's a good person. That's in my opinion. You know, I don't take nobody else's opinion and run wrong with it. But my opinion, I mean, I got nothing against it.
All right, got you. 800-450-7876. Coming up closely on a break. Bernard is on line one. Bernard, your thoughts on what's happening in the streets? Is Bernard with us on line one? I think Bernard must have hung up. Malik, so looking
I'm here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother. Your thoughts on what's going on in the streets?
All right, how you doing? This is Brother Bernard from Los Angeles, Gardena area. And I wanted to comment on what Brother Farmer was talking about. Talk with him regarding the Clintons' apology and stuff. And to add to what the brother is saying, which he's waking everybody up about an apology without any substance, or an apology without any compensation for the damages, which I think is really very atrocious. Being that, as Brother Farmer was saying earlier, we still have black men locked up for these nonviolent offenses that, as you know, as of now, the state of Colorado has legalized, just the use of marijuana, period. And we still got people in jail for using that. Now, here's a situation where the legal system didn't catch up with the practicality of what's going on in these individual states. And I think it should be something that a lot of teachers should be drawn to, and that we should work real hard to get all of the brothers who are now incarcerated in jail released, because they're in jail for something that's currently now being legalized.
All right, hold that thought right there. We got to take a quick break. We come back, we'll wrap it up, and we'll also speak to Dr. Renoka Rashidi. 800-450-7876. These brothers are straight from the street, folks. These are the forgotten people in our community. Number to call to reach them again is 800-450-7876. We'll take your calls next. It's The Big Show rolls on from the capital city on 1450 WOL, where information is power. Thanks for staying with us, folks. We'll get to our guest, Dr. Renoka Rashidi, momentarily, but let's finish up with Malik and his fellas from the streets. Malik, if people want to help you, is there an email? Is there Facebook or any social media? How can they get in touch with you? Is Malik there on line too?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, how can they get in touch with you, Malik?
You can reach me on the way of the internet at therealmalikspellman@gmail.com.
And what is it you need? Because we still haven't come up with what's going on in these streets, the inner cities. Our people are still taking each other out at an alarming rate, and the problem is the other folks are not going to come up with a solution. The solution has got to come from our side. So, what is it that you need? What do you think? Because I know people talk about jobs, but is jobs the only answer?
No, Carl, jobs is not the only answer. We need a collective involvement, if there is such a term, from all people. And your show is not long enough to list a thing, man. But if you guys want to just send us some youth that we can save, or if you got a platform that we can come to enlighten our people about the good and the bad of this situation, because a lot of times the parents are left in the dark. So if you just want to hit me on Facebook or something, Malik Spellman, and you got a child you need someone to talk to in another state or country, we'll do that. But the dreams of really getting people involved, this is our fight, man. We got it, man.
All right. Thanks, Malik. Thanks, Bernard. Thanks, Cubone. You guys keep up the good work. Because without you guys, the carnage would be much more worse on our streets. I thank you for all the work that you do. And before we go to Dr. Ranoka Rashid, just remind you, there's a homeless shelter in Baltimore, and they need $800 to keep going. So and here's the number, 410-563-2749. They're facing foreclosure. This lady just started this homeless shelter. It's mostly for people who look like me and you. Mostly women and children are there. But they're, the bank's on their butt. They need $800 to get over the hump. You don't have to give the whole nut, but if you can just donate something, just give them a call at 410-563-2749. That's 410-563-2749.